Hello and welcome to the Trading Bell. I'm Noki Kimbo, and we've just sat in Safaricom CEO's office. Peter Ndegwa will be having a discussion with him on matters the vision of Safaricom, what they're doing with their expansion in Ethiopia, and also what they're doing locally in calming and fighting the waves that we've been feeling from COVID to Russia, Ukraine, and now an impending recession in 2023. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Nice to be on the show now.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you, sir. And starting off, I mean, a lot is happening in this world. And just looking at the macro situation of the world, we are seeing an impending recession coming up. But even looking back, we had a pandemic. After that, we have Russia-Ukraine war. How does this impact on telecommunications?
So there is no sector, I should say, no, that is not impacted by what is happening in the environment. You know, consumers react to what is happening in the environment. In Kenya, we have seen significant impact on the Russia economy, the Russia-Ukraine war. In particular, the impact on energy pricing, on food prices, on supply chain. That, of course, increases cost of food in particular, but also transport and other costs. So inflation has increased, which impacts our ability of customers to buy goods. So, and livelihoods are also affected. So every single person has been impacted, and we've seen it also translate in the results that we have announced recently by Safaricom. But at a sector level, we've seen pressure points on voice. Yes, we've also seen pressure points on data, but primarily on more traditional businesses like voice. Even on M-Pesa, which is about the amount people have in terms of to spend, we have seen an impact on M-Pesa, in particular in Q3, which is our Q2 of our financial year, July, August, September. Whilst we had very good April, May, and June, July, August, September, we saw a bit of an impact, so which means that it is pinching everyone.
Definitely. And I mean, just looking at your half-year performance ending September, a drop. And I mean, it's still in the billions, but still a drop, yeah? And people are wondering what exactly is happening there. And you mentioned some of these factors that you've mentioned right now as the reason for that. Also, at a policy level, are we seeing changes that is touching on your business?
So I think it's good to put the drop in perspective. You know, when Safaricom has always had very strong results. And I believe, and the board believes, that our results for H1 ending 30th September are very solid in a tough economic environment, and in the context of some of the challenges that you mentioned, including regulatory challenges, which I'll speak to. So if you look at our results, on the Kenya side, we grew the business 4.6% year on year, which is pretty solid in the current environment. We also saw the net income increase by about a percentage point, so almost flat. But if you incorporate what we call mobile termination rates, which is some of the regulatory changes, we would have grown by about 3.5. So the Kenya business is solid, yes, feeling the impacts of the tough economic situation, but also a slowdown leading up to the elections in August and subsequent processes. But we believe that the Kenya business is solid. The reason why Safaricom showed a drop of about 10% in net income and is because of Ethiopia. We've just launched commercial operations in Ethiopia. Yes. Clearly, we are only incurring costs without earning revenue. That reflects in setup costs, which we expect in a new business. That's how Safaricom started 20 years ago. But the investing in Ethiopia, and we have just crossed the 1 million mark in customer mark in Ethiopia, which is very positive. So we are very satisfied about the progress we are making, but that will continue in the next 2 or 3 years, affecting our results, but will be a big driver of Safaricom's revenue and profit in the medium to long term, which is the reason why we've gone into Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, quite an interesting market. Initially, we've known Ethiopia to be very guarded, yeah? And when we hear Safaricom is in Ethiopia, I mean, first of all, the preliminaries, the reason for going into Ethiopia. Why was Ethiopia a ripe market for Safaricom?
Ethiopia has always been an attractive market for Kenyan companies. If you talk to the leading Kenyan companies, they'll at one point or the other have looked to go into Ethiopia. So Safaricom has not been left aside. And therefore, we were very delighted last year to have been awarded the license, incorporating as leading a consortium of global partners such as Sumitomo of Japan, BII of the UK, and also Vodacom Group. Safaricom is the majority shareholder, so delighted that a Kenyan company has actually gone into Ethiopia. Why Ethiopia? Ethiopia is the second largest country in Africa, 115 million people, really growing population, very vibrant, one of the most friendly neighbors to Kenya. So clearly it's a great market to go after, because digitization is still slightly behind because they are one player market. Ethiotel is a very successful business. It's about 50 million people, 50 million customers, but there's another 65 million that have not been served. So there's a lot of potential in Ethiopia to digitize the country, to improve the lives of Ethiopians in the same way that we have done in Kenya or in any other country. So we are delighted to have launched commercial operations in October. Yes. We are delighted to have hit the 1 million customer mark within a very short period of time. We are also delighted that the Ethiopian government has messaged that they are going to award us a mobile financial services license. So we can't wait for that license to be awarded.
Wow, definitely. And I want us to take a back step into the Kenyan market. You mentioned...
I thought you would.
very, very important, actually.
Yes.
But,
okay.
You talk about, mobile financial services. And, the cost, first of all, you guys, especially the president, has been very big on the issue of lending. Yeah? What are we borrowing? What are we borrowing for?
Yes.
And with your Fuliza product, you guys have been lending quite a lot. Kenyans borrow in the billions in a single day. There were changes recently to sort of half the tariffs. So far, how's the customer base reaction to this move?
I'm assuming you're talking about Fuliza.
Yes.
So I think the change that we have made in Fuliza needs to be seen in the context of a number of changes that we have been making to improve the affordability of our products to our customers, recognizing that the economy is going through a tough time, recognizing that we need to continue to offer services that are more suited to customer needs. So we've reduced mobile data cost by about 30% in the past year, and we've seen that leading to very significant increase in usage by about 69%. We've also reduced voice calls. So mobile financial services is not an exception. We believe that the work that we have done and the decision that we have taken to reduce the Fuliza cost, what it costs people to borrow on Fuliza, it makes the product more sustainable. Indeed, as you know, Fuliza was set up as emergency credit, but people have started to use it for 10 days, 14 days, which is really a short-term term loan. But actually, if you use Fuliza as emergency credit, so when you go into a shop and you run out of, you want 1,000 shillings and the bill is 1,100, you Fuliza the 100. So that's why we've restructured the cost so that the first 3 days, especially if you are spending below 1,000, are free. So it encourages people to use Fuliza for a short time. And therefore, it is actually the right thing to reduce the cost. Going forward, we are also going to start introducing term loans that allow customers to use different products for different needs, so that Fuliza is not used for all needs. But we believe that we've done the right thing. We are also delighted that the government has promised to launch other services, including the Hustler Fund, and we will, as part of the industry consortium, be supporting the government in any efforts they have in order for us to provide more services, more financial services products that are more affordable to our customers.
All right. That's very important. You know, money is very critical.
Yes.
Even when you talk about the impact of macro situations and policy changes,
Yes.
it touches on the pockets of Kenyans.
That's correct.
And the business has to evolve. Initially, I was listening to your chair,
Yes.
Mr. Ngumi, and
Yes.
he talked about evolving the company.
Yes.
And oftentimes you mention about company culture and what we are becoming. What is Safaricom becoming?
So Safaricom has been a very successful business, but all the way from the very beginning, Safaricom has also been known as a company that stands for Kenyans. We have two foundations that support Kenyans in many ways. As a business, when there's a big national crisis, we always come forward. You'll see that recently, in the past 12 months, we've been involved to complement government efforts to support the communities that are faced with the drought. As you know, drought is a major issue. More than 20 counties are currently affected by drought. We set up a program which we are calling Pamoja Tuungane, which we brought private sector together to cooperate, to partner together to support communities that are affected by drought. So we've distributed food. Safaricom so far has already committed more than 150 million Kenya shillings. We've also asked Kenyans to donate their bonga points, and we have seen almost 30 million donations of worth of donations relating to either bonga points or cash that then we translate into food that we can send. I have been to places such as Marsabit in Irelet, on the shores of Lake Turkana in the Marsabit County. I've also been to Isiolo,
Yes.
personally to distribute food. So, and the reason why I'm saying this, Safaricom has always been about caring about Kenyans. So purpose
Yes.
and the needs of the country are very important. Going forward, our intention is to go beyond telecommunication. We've been a very successful telecommunication business. We've also been very successful payment platform through M-Pesa. Now we want to become a purpose-led technology company. So we want to continue to use technology and innovation to solve society and customer challenges.
Okay.
But we want to broaden beyond telecommunication. We want to broaden beyond payments. So on the mobile financial services, we want to ensure that we launch affordable credit. We go into wealth management, democratize ability to invest in stocks and so on, of course, and even go into insurance, subject to regulatory approval. But most of it working with partners who are licensed in those areas. On the telecommunication side, we want to be more solutions oriented for enterprise, for small businesses, because we know that there is very many needs that small businesses have.
Definitely.
So that is so it's about continuing to be purpose-led and to have a heart, but go beyond connectivity and go beyond payments.
Democratizing wealth creation.
Yes.
And you know, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is a platform that we can utilize to grow our wealth.
That's correct.
In terms of bringing that down, because it seems to be one of the big challenges, market depth in this country,
Yes.
and participation, very, very minimal. You guys have the reach, you have the numbers. How are you utilizing that number and directing them towards the boss?
So yes, you're right that we do have the platforms, both in terms of technology, but also distribution infrastructure through your mobile phone. So you should see mobile phone as similar to roads. Mobile phones are very essential. Of course, we need to move customers, and I can talk about it, moving customers from 2G to 4G phones. But if you digitize both the experience of customers and demystify your ability as a customer to trade on the stock exchange, and actually almost think about fractional ownership of shares or bonds, then you can bring a big group of people, customers who do not access the stock exchange into the to be able to play there. We launched in the past together with the Nairobi Stock Exchange and also the capital markets, M-Akiba, which is about ability to access bonds. Last year, with the Nairobi Stock Exchange, we launched a product where you can use your bonga points to trade shares. So it is about really enabling customers. Today we have 31 million 30-day active M-Pesa customers. We can enable those customers to buy shares using their mobile phone, paying through M-Pesa or paying through Bonga points. There's about 4 billion Kenya shillings worth of Bonga points the customers are sitting with.
Yes.
So if customers want to trade on the stock exchange today, they can go into the app, the M-Pesa app, or use a USSD to be able to trade. So it is about democratizing ability to use. It's about digitizing, but it's also about co-creating products that really allow people to access the products that are available. No. But it's also about broadening the type of products that the Nairobi Stock Exchange has.
Okay, and touching on that, because market depth is a challenge.
Yes.
Your counter, I mean,
yes.
the biggest counter.
Yes.
For others,
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
they sort of control majority. Then we have other small players, and I mean, it's good to be the lead.
Yeah.
But there should be a way that we have more activity and vibrancy in our stock markets. How do we build that? I know you've worked in different parts of the world.
Yes.
You've seen some markets that are a little bit different and more active.
Right.
How do we bring that vibrancy other than democratizing the bit of participation?
Yeah. So recently, I think a month ago, the president attended an event that was organized by the Capital Markets Authority, but also the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and exactly talking about this. And there was even a panel that had both private sector but also public sector. On the private sector is experience of those who are listed like us, but also on the public sector, it was about policy and how do we improve the ability of companies to list. I think on the large corp, I think it's already established in terms of ensuring that companies have the ability to list. The issue is small and medium-sized businesses find it quite complex. Listing on the stock exchange is quite complex. So therefore, really allowing companies to believe that they can be able to list in an easier way. So the supply side is important, both on the equity side, but also on the bond side. More importantly, make it possible for smaller businesses to list. Okay. We would like to see many Safaricoms
yes.
On the stock exchange. Remember, Safaricom is only 20 plus years.
Wow. So the thing is, because you'd like to see more Safaricoms, which is very important. I'm trying to figure out in terms of not only making it easier to list and participation in the markets, but looking at the future. The president touched on the issue of privatization, which is also another avenue that we could spur the vibrancy of the market. What do you think about that?
Yes, there's many companies that were previously fully owned by government that are part of the stock exchange, and Safaricom is one of them. Still owned partly by government, but listed on the stock exchange. So there are many examples where the government has actually gone in and done a very successful IPOs, and there are very many examples. And the president did commit that he's going to really push the boundaries around ensuring that there is more listing of public enterprises, and give the challenge to the Treasury to make sure, to the ministry which owned the investment, to make sure that happens. But listing also needs to be done by private enterprises, not just those that are owned by the public. Remember, because listing is about accessing capital,
yes.
accessing liquidity, but also being able to ensure that shareholders can liquidate and find instruments which are more tradable. So it's both on the public sector side in terms of government making it easier, and also coming up with policies that allow that to happen, but also on the private sector simplifying it so that private organizations can feel that the stock exchange is an avenue for them to be able to access capital.
Definitely. And I think that also offers that stability. Because when we are in shaky situations like a transition and election, we see a lot of capital flight. We have a lot of foreign participation, which is good.
Yes.
But I think local participation in the market sort of stabilizes it further amidst turmoils. At least there is stability within
Yes,
itself.
yes, yes.
So that bonga point, you're able to buy bonga points with your
Yes.
with your shares with your bonga points.
Right.
That helps to stabilize the market, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I think it is ensuring that we remove friction in terms of how people think about trading. So if you solve the supply side of the market, how do you create liquidity? So if I'm able to do it digitally, if I'm able to pay with instruments like bonga points which are already available, if I feel that the liquidity is enough so that I can trade on a regular basis, that is also good, because it's also about liquidity. There's these things that have happened, and some stocks are not liquid. It's looking to improve liquidity, but it's also about ensuring that we can have instruments that people can trade on a fractional basis. So you don't have to have a specific amount of money for you to be able to trade. It's also about improving the know your customer, the CDS account. I don't know whether you've opened a trading account. It is problematic. So making it easier to actually, and digitizing the actual know your customer at the beginning, the opening of that account, your ability to trade digitally. So the future is digital. So making sure the customer journey, both in terms of joining, trading, and actually being able to relate, making it easier is what will allow customers, because there's a lot of money that sits in customers' accounts, both in banks but also in M-Pesa. It's also about having products that people feel are attractive.
Definitely, that is quite encouraging. Simplify, and we can utilize technology to make it so simple to do some of these products.
Yes.
I think the gist of the conversation, as we wrap this up, is that just make it easy for the customer. They want easiness.
They want easiness,
convenience,
yes, convenience, and also almost instantaneous.
Yes.
Rather than waiting for 3 days to know whether you have traded and so on and so forth.
Yes.
The other is and that's the reason why we are so passionate in the industry to really upgrade people from 2G to 4G phones. Yes. You can do it on the app. So if you made the customer journey easier through an app instead of a USSD, you bring more customers into the fold, and you don't exclude customers. You should not leave anyone behind. And that's one of the reasons, and I like what the president recently said, that we need more accessible 4G devices. Only a third of Kenyans own 4G devices, 2/3 own between 2 and 3G. If we converted more customers into 4G phones, there's only about 15 million 4G phones. If we doubled that to 30 million, you'll have another 15 million people who are able to use an app instead of having to use Amlikamwizi. And it's not because Amlikamwizi is a problem. It is because those 4G phones are not affordable. So whether that is local production, whether that's subsidizing 4G phones, or whatever, whether that's financing, like we do Lipa Mdogo Mdogo, where you pay only 500 shillings deposit, you pay 20 shillings every day to convert from a 2G to 4G. This is the next superhighway. If you think about roads, we should put it at par. Accessing a Ford should be at par with accessing a road.
Wow, it's called digital superhighway. That's where I think we get the stop notice on this superhighway.
Right.
This conversation has been quite enlightening. I'm glad you've been able to, tell us the vision of Safaricom, where you guys are going, the different markets expansion, and also locally, how you're viewing the market, what is happening in the stock exchange, make it easier to trade. It's been quite an interesting conversation. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Ndegwa.
Thank you, Noah.
For your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank
So
you
there
very
have
much.
it. If you're asking yourself what Safaricom is thinking, well, it's thinking about making things easier, efficient, and as Mr. Peter Ndegwa puts it, instantaneous, because that's the demand of the market. And our companies have to make sure that they are reaching that demand even on our stock exchange. Make it easy, convenient, and instantaneous. Thank you very much for the conversation we've had right here on Matters Safaricom with CEO Peter Ndegwa. We finish up with the markets.